Hello and welcome to the video. This is me making a very big Roman blind. If I recall, it was about 310 centimeters wide by about 230 drop. I think it was 235, something like that. And the reason I've chosen to video this particular blind was for two reasons really. One, because it was big, and it's always fun to watch somebody struggle making something really big. But also because there's no visible joins in the linings on the back. This blind was not only lined, it was interlined and blackout lined inside. The original order actually was for just interlined, but right at the last minute it was changed to blackout interlined, and normally we would do that with bonded interlining, but I didn't have any in stock, so I had to make it with a layer of normal interlining, a layer of blackout lining, and then a layer of standard lining on the back. So consequently there's 4 layers of fabric in this blind, and because of that, lining up 4 lots of seams all in one place would have been really bulky and would have spoiled the flow of the blind. It would have looked quite lumpy, I think. The fabric itself obviously has to be vertically joined because of the pattern, but all the other linings, including the lining on the back, can have a horizontal join, and that join can be lined up with a rod pocket, so it's completely hidden. Anyway, that's what I did with this. So you'll see I've already cut the fabric for this. There are 2 widths in the blind. One width is split down the middle and then pattern matched each side of a full width in the middle, and I'm pattern matching here. I tend not to do any preparing at the table for the pattern matching, any pinning or creasing or tacking. I just go straight to the machine with it, and I've actually made a video on this method because it's so much quicker, and I'll link to it above. It's a bit tricky to master, but once you've got it, I tell you, it saves so much time, so it's really worth the effort. So I'm just checking how I've done here, and I think there's a bit I'm not happy with because it looks like I unpick it and go back. So I've got it laid out on the table now, and I'm just pressing the seams open. There's quite a wide selvage on this, and oftentimes I would trim that extra selvage fabric away if it was just a standard line blind, because you can see that selvage through. But because this is being interlined and blackout lined inside, there's no way you're going to see that. You can see it here because of the dark table showing through, but once there's a white interlining behind that, you won't see it at all. So on to cutting the linings now. The first piece is the interlining, and this is the first layer that goes behind the face fabric. And of course, because I'm making this with a one horizontal join, I cut two pieces equivalent to the width. now I can start laying up the blind. I've got the face fabric here, and I'll lay that right side down, and then on top of that I'll put the just, because I can't get it all on the table in one go, I'm check measuring. Firstly I check measured up to that last rod pocket that you can see, and then I've measured from there up to get the top edge of the blind, and I've just cut off the excess linings and face fabric to give me enough to make the heading. So now I've made the first turning of the heading, and I'm pressing in a strip of fusible buckram. This gives the heading a stiffness and something structured to sew the velcro to. And I'm just pinning the velcro to the face side of that single fold, ready to go to the machine and sew it in place. So I machined down both sides of the velcro at the machine, sewing right through that single fold and the stiffened buckram inside. And now I'm turning that single fold down, so now it's a double turning, and I'm pinning it to the lining, and I'm just going to hand sew right across. And I'll close up the end of that hem so that it doesn't gape once it's stuck to the headrail. And also, as I sew through, I'll catch all the layers of lining inside, but I won't go right through to the front, so you won't see any stitches catching at the front. So I'll lay the blind back on the table with that open end of the hem available to me so I can thread the bottom bar into it easily, and I'm also now threading in the fiberglass rods into each rod pocket. And these are standard length rods and bar, probably 3.5 meters, so I'll need to trim off the excess with a hacksaw. and then I quickly hand sew up the ends of the rod pockets and the bottom hem, but my camera ran out, so there's only a little bit of that. And my camera woes continued, so I also missed me putting the headrail onto the blind, but you can see it's attached here, and I've also folded the blind up so the rod pockets are all nicely lined up and I can reach them more easily to mark them and hand sew the rings on. This pocket you see me sewing now is the very bottom one, and the next one up obviously is the second one up, and those bottom two rod pockets require breakaway rings to comply with child safety regulations, so that's what you see me adding here. And the remaining rod pockets just have standard rings sewn on in the standard way. I usually sew around the rod inside the pocket just to give the pocket more strength, and then I sew the ring on the edge of the pocket. And then finally I'm threading up the cords from the headrail through those rings, and I'll add in a slip toggle at the bottom, also child safety compliant. You can see the slip toggles in place there at the bottom pocket of the blind, and now I'm just making up a bead chain to control the headrail. So now the bead chain's in place, I can pull the blind up and down using the blind mechanism, and just to check and test everything's working as it should and that the tensions are all the same. I'll do this a couple of times and level it with the toggles at the bottom a couple of times until I'm happy with it. Now, because this was an order for somebody else in the trade, I unfortunately wasn't able to see it up in place, so this is the best I can show you of it completed, I'm afraid. But it was the making methods that I wanted to show you, so hopefully you got something out of that. And if it's your first time here, please do consider subscribing to the channel. I've got lots more videos in the pipeline and some more in-depth tutorials.